Moving on now to the top story that we've been tracking here all day, and these are tensions that continue to escalate in Ladakh. The central government has blamed activist Sonam Wangchuk for inciting the violence in Leh, which claimed at least 4 lives yesterday. 48 arrests have been made so far in the case. The Ministry of Home Affairs has said that Sonam Wangchuk's provocative references to the Arab Spring, to Nepal's Gen Z protests, misled the public, which is why many of them took law into their own hands eventually, which led to the death of 4 people. The BJP has also accused the Congress party of fueling unrest, questioning whether Rahul Gandhi endorsed such chaos. Protests demanding statehood for Ladakh and inclusion in the 6th schedule of the constitution. Those protests turned violent yesterday. BJP's office in Leh was also set ablaze. The Lieutenant Governor of Ladakh has expressed sorrow over these tragic deaths, but also putting in place safeguards and appealing for calm. Section 163 of the BNS has been imposed. These are prohibitory orders, which means gatherings of 5 or more people have been now banned. Now, amid this turmoil, the centre has said that a high-powered committee meeting was already scheduled for 6th of October. There was an informal meeting that was scheduled for today as well, but all of that has now gone for a toss, given the kind of chaos and violence we saw yesterday. Let's now get you some more breaking news that's coming in. Amid these recent protests that we are seeing, this is what we're learning from our sources within the BJP, is that Sonam Wangchuk, who's leading this protest, who called off his fast to death yesterday after the violence, his funds and his financial dealings are now under the scanner. There are certain irregularities and violations which are raising critical questions as per the BJP about his credibility and intentions of why he was on a protest yesterday and called off his fast soon after violence broke out. What we've learned from BJP sources is that there have been several serious financial irregularities, several questionable activities that are linked to Sonam Wangchuk and his NGO as well. One of the major issues that is under investigation, that's under the scanner, is that his NGO has received local donations into its FCRA account, which is a clear violation of the FCRA norms of 2010. There are several foreign remittances that are also under the scanner, for which we are given to understand that FCRA registration was not applied for before these funds were taken into his account by this activist Sonam Wangchuk. Arun, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details on this. Arun, there's already an investigation that the CBI was looking at as far as Sonam Wangchuk and his financial irregularities are concerned. But now, via your sources within the BJP, you've learned some more information about that case?
Well, that's right. The information which is coming in, of course, it is related to the what is happening in Ladakh, and also, of course, the role of Sonam Wangchuk in this. BJP sources, of course, have been telling this that beside instigating the crowd there and letting them do what happened there, Sonam Wangchuk has really violated various other things as far as the financial aspect of it concerned. He has formed an NGO which is, of course, working there in Ladakh, and in that NGO, the funds that he has received is something which is against the financial rules in the country, and also importantly, the funds that he received in his NGO for, of course, the work of for the social work that has been transferred in his own account. So there are details which BJP sources have put out, is that how at different levels and on different years he has got those funds from foreign entities in his bank account, which was against the FCRA norms, and also most importantly, he has also showed this, that he did not receive any foreign funding, but as per the investigation, it has been found out that he has got huge amount of foreign funding in his NGO, which is HAIL, which is working there in Ladakh. And also, of course, in different years, there has been huge spike as far as the funding is concerned, and also his personal income is concerned. And there have been various details which has been put out by BJP sources in the public domain, that how he is completely violating the financial laws of the country. He has not only instigated violence in Ladakh, but also did wrongdoings on the financial angle, and these are the details which, in fact, we are also showing on our screen right now. It is, of course, related to those fundings that he has returned. So somehow BJP, of course, has been highlighting this even on record, that the the George Soros angle in the entire episode, the incident that happened in Ladakh yesterday, and also how these people who are involved, whether it is Congress Party or Sonam Wangchuk, have that connection with those entities and those forces who've been trying to dismantle the peace and harmony in the Union Territory. Now, with this details which are coming into public domain now, Sonam Wangchuk is in spot of bother because the details are very scathing. It talks about the financial irregularities which he has done under the garb of his NGO that he's running in the state. So probably, people are expecting some sort of a response from the Sonam Wangchuk side on these details, which has been come out from the BJP sources sides, which are very, very scathing, and also importantly, putting things into the public domain that how in last couple of years, not 2 or 3 years, but it has been going on for last 10 to 15 years. That how these fundings are coming out and how that money then, of course, transferred in the personal accounts, etc., which is against.
So what
the
about
various
investigation
violations
then,
under the
Arun?
company law.
Since you're saying that what you've learned from your BJP sources is that all of these transactions that they're now looking at go way back to a decade or more, or some within the last 5 or 6 years. But we're given to understand that the CBI investigation was only launched about 2 years or so ago. What about investigation in that case? Even in that case, there is no FIR yet.
Well, that's right. Now, of course, when these things are in public domain, probably you will see that some sort of action will be initiated against Sonam Wangchuk. Of course, it has been flagged even in the past, but there was no action. Probably it was brought into the notice of Sonam Wangchuk. But now, of course, when we are seeing that things are, of course, not in good shape in Ladakh as far as the violence that occurred yesterday, and Sonam Wangchuk has been repeatedly putting pressure on the central government, blaming central government for not giving what they have promised for Union Territory. Of course, CBI has been looking into it, but we haven't seen really headway in the entire matter. So now when things are in public domain, probably you will see some sort of, action from the agency side going on. Probably in these years, they will be looking into or tracking the movement of Sonam Wangchuk, and also, of course, the funding which he's been getting from the foreign sources. So now there is a compilation of details about all these irregularities. Probably we'll have to see in coming few days and weeks if there is any sort of headway or any action against Sonam Wangchuk related to these irregularities as per BJP sources coming out through these details.
Right. Arun, as far as these financial irregularities are concerned, that's something that is now under investigation. But there's more information that is also trickling in, given what is transpiring in Ladakh. That is what we're learning. And this is an exclusive that also we are getting for our viewers here. This is about what exactly transpired in Ladakh and why exactly have these protests gone out of control. This is what we're learning from our sources, that the central government has gone out of its way to handle this entire issue. There have been several engagements that have taken place between the central government, between the representatives in Ladakh. There are several high-powered committee dialogues that have taken place over the last few months. But unfortunately, things came to such a pass yesterday that we had to see this kind of violence. We had to see this kind of arson and stone pelting take place in Leh, unfortunately, in which 4 people did lose their lives. Several arrests have been made so far, but accountability has to be fixed over who's responsible. The BJP has been laying the blame on the door of the Congress for the Congress councillors' provocative statements, and of course the activist Sonam Wangchuk. Aman, my colleague, also joins us, getting us more details and more perspective on this. Aman, the BJP is pointing to not just the financial irregularities, but also to the kind of comments that Sonam Wangchuk has been making, or the trajectory that it has taken over the last few months, to show that his motives may not be as clean as he intends them to be.
Well, yes, Poonam, that is what BJP sources have been saying, that this protest also is not that, which has happened, out of any major anger. It seems more like a planned protest, and Sonam Wangchuk's intentions here seem to be very, very suspect. There are allegations against him. There are also FCRA donations, questionable donations that he has received, and what sources are also telling us that, apart from stirring public emotions on these issues, under the guise of activism as well, that is also under the focus focus of the intelligence agencies at how all this has been built up to provoke people in Ladakh, the youth in Ladakh, to act in this manner. And Sonam Wangchuk has been at this issue for very long. Also, what BJP sources are claiming that there are serious financial irregularities, also all other violations linked to, as I said, the FCRI matter or the questionable foreign donations, which raise doubts over the credibility of Sonam Wangchuk and his entire campaign, which he has been running for several months now. One issue also has been the local donations he has been receiving into his FCRA account, which many BJP sources are saying is a clear violation of the FCRA Act, and there could be action on these fronts in the days to come. He's also been facing a CBI inquiry for the last 2 months, so this is not linked to in any way to the present protest, but still all these legal troubles that Sonam Wangchuk has been facing, along with his intentions, BJP sources are saying this is completely suspect, and they are saying that this is no immediate provocation which led to these protests. This seems a planned conspiracy, and that is what the agencies have also been asked to very closely look in now on what has been the intention of Sonam Wangchuk.
Now, on multiple occasions in the past as well, Aman, several allegations have been made by the BJP that, there's this toolkit of sorts that several people who are sitting on foreign soil are trying to instigate violence here in India. Is this instance also being seen as one of those?
Well, Poonam, his NGO, HIAL, has always been under the focus, and now BJP sources are again and again pointing to his NGO. That number one, they say that his NGO has received local donations into its FCRA account. It's a clear violation of the Section 17 of the FCRA 2010 Act. This is the number one matter. Also, HIL has been receiving foreign remittances even before it applied for an FCRA registration. This is also a very, very serious violation of the FCRA Act. In fact, in 2020, 21 and 21-22, HIL had declared that it had zero, foreign earnings, but it did receive foreign remittances during this period. That is a suspicion of the agencies, as well as BJP sources are now highlighting this to say that even his NGO is not above board. There are questionable donations made to it. Is this all being used by him to, whip up this frenzy in Ladakh? Is a very, very serious question that the BJP is now trying to question the motives of Sonam Wangchuk. I think that is in this direction. We've seen since yesterday, Poonam, also the way the statement came from the Home Ministry, testifying that how this whole thing has escalated through, it seemed like a conspiracy, and now these details coming up from BJP sources questioning the motives and the intentions of Sonam Wangchuk, I think raising a lot of questions on the way what has transpired in Ladakh yesterday over 12 hours.
But Aman, the onus would also lie on the government, isn't it? Because these allegations are grave, and if they do date back to several years ago, then an investigation also has to be launched. We do know that a CBI investigation is underway into Sonam Wangchuk and his NGO, but even in that case, there is no FIR filed just yet.
Poonam, that is a question, valid question, that if the agencies had known about these violations from 2021 onwards, why haven't they taken any action? Why have they delayed action till now? All this information is now coming out through sources, but why haven't the agencies acted on the ground? For example, when they say that between 2021 and 2024, he has transferred crores of rupees abroad, raising serious concerns, why wasn't any action taken against him? Will this action happen now? Because all this protests have now highlighted this entire role remains to be seen, but the next few days, I think the agencies, I feel, are expected to tighten their noose around Sonam Wangchuk and his NGO.
Right, so just to put this in perspective for our viewers who are just joining us, these are the allegations that Sonam Wangchuk, the activist who has been the face of these demands for a statehood for Ladakh is concerned, has been making. The allegations that the BJP is now making via its sources is that there is funding into Sonam Wangchuk's NGO. There are some transactions, there are some dealings that are questionable. That's something that the investigation and investigating agencies will now have to look at. There are several violations of the Foreign Funding Act, which he is under the scanner for. Several of these funds were also allegedly siphoned off, is what they do believe. That's also something that the investigating agencies will be looking into. And Aman, as far as these allegations of money laundering are concerned, they also believe that a lot of this money that he did receive for his NGO was eventually then transferred into his personal accounts, and there was no reason for that or no rule that was followed to do so.
Well, yes, that is also the big claim of BJP sources, that these kind of irregularities, not just the donations, Poonam, which have come to his NGO, but also the way the money has been taken out for other ulterior motives through his NGO. So, though Sonam Wangchuk, government sources are saying, portrays himself as a fighter for human rights, and but his financial conduct and his financial dealings are extremely questionable. BJP sources also saying that he is in a way impediment also in the talks which the center wants to do with the people there. He has proved to be in a way constructive dialogue is getting derailed there because also of Sonam Wangchuk's interests and interventions in that particular issue. So not just financial dealings of his NGO which are suspect, but also his role in a way derailing the constructive dialogue that the center is trying to hold with the people there is also something that the agencies feel and the BJP feels that this is something which needs to be looked into. It looks very, very suspect.
And speaking of that dialogue, the central government, the BJP, Aman, is also pointing out to the constructive dialogue that has taken place so far before things came to such a pass yesterday. That Sonam Wangchuk's protest itself has been going on for a couple of weeks now. But until these kind of provocative statements were made, references to Gen Z protests, to what's been transpiring in our neighborhood, until those comments were made, everything was calm. There was dialogue that was taking place with the stakeholders there.
Well, yes, Poonam, and the next round of talks were expected in the first week of October, October 6 to be precise, and the center had even offered that they can bring forward those talks. So, even in that kind of an atmosphere where the talks were even planned to be forwarded if the protesters had agreed, in such a scenario to have such a protest, which is also, this protest now the center feels is also to derail that talks process, because once you indulge in violence, you burn the BJP party office, 4 people are killed. Obviously, the talks also suffer as a result. And does Sonam Wangchuk and some interested vested parties in this actually do not want these talks to arrive at a solution? That is why this violence has happened. All these questions are now being raised by agencies, and that is why I feel that in the coming days the legal action and the legal news around Sonam Wangchuk and some others vested interests in this particular conflict could be seen coming out, because the agencies clearly have a lot of material in the background. CBI has also been probing the preliminary inquiry against Mr. Sonam Wangchuk and his NGO for the last couple of years, but now we may actually see some action with all these protests coming to light.
Right. Aman, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front.